Hey guys, Mark Holmes here. Damn it thing. I hate it. I don't understand. I cannot turn off this damn selfie focus thing on here, and it's driving me crazy because I'll look at it and I'll see I'm blurry, although that may not be the worst thing. It might actually be worse when you actually see me in high def. Not everybody is made for high def. I have to be the first one to admit that. Because then you see all of the imperfections of a person, all of the wrinkles, and really how truly ugly they are. But it's Saturday, man. We all wish that we were playing tomorrow. God, I wish we were playing tomorrow. But here it is. The NFL season is down to just 3 games. That's it. So we better enjoy these last 3 games here while we can. At least for us Dallas Cowboy fans, the season ain't over really, as far as talking about the Cowboys. And we now have a little bit more hope than what we thought of, because change is coming to Dallas. And I talked about my morning video this morning about Scott Linehan being gone, how I feel like all of a sudden the skies have opened up, that change is in the air, that everybody feels a little bit more renewed and excited. And I gotta think that the players have to be excited right now too about the prospect of having a new offense. Hopefully a guy that can work with them. And so what I'm doing now is trying to find out everything I can about potential candidates that the Cowboys may be looking at. We talked about Scott Turner, who's quarterback's coach in Carolina, son of Norv Turner, and how he has a link, of course, with the Cowboys, being that Norv Turner was our offensive coordinator during the 90s. And the Dallas Cowboys like to hire in the family, so to speak. Another person that they can't talk to till after probably tomorrow would be Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell, originally drafted by the New York Giants. I'm sorry, this cold. I've been trying to get. I've had this thing too long. It's just about gone, but still have a cough and a sneeze from now time to time. But Dan Campbell, originally drafted by the Giants, brought to Dallas under Bill Parcells, and unfortunately ended up having injuries. I can't remember what the injury was, but he only played for the Cowboys for a few games. He also played for the Lions, and I think he played for the Saints as well, although I might be wrong on that one. Coaching-wise, he was a tight ends coach in Miami and actually did pretty good, was highly thought of. And when they fired Phoeben, I think they started out 1-3. They ended up 6-10 as him with the head coach. So he went 5-7 with a team that started out 1-3. That's actually not that bad, but he was the youngest head coach at the time, 39 years of age, and literally thrown into the wolves of a bad situation. So he was interim coach for them, for 12 weeks, and did actually a good job. The fact that they were close to 500 after starting out 1-3 says a lot. But since then, he got hired by New Orleans as assistant head coach and tight ends coach. Now, you can't argue with what New Orleans has done the last couple of years with Drew Brees and that offense. The problem for New Orleans has not been the offensive side of the ball. It's been the defense. And we know what happened with Rob Ryan here. He left here and went and ended up being the defensive coordinator there. But when you look at what New Orleans has done with Drew Brees is a great quarterback, mainly, I believe, because Sean Payton took him to another level. So when you look at a guy like Dan Campbell, you definitely see the Bill Parcells coaching tree, of course, because he's worked under Sean Payton, of course, who worked under Bill Parcells, but also was coached by Bill Parcells. So you start looking at that dynamic and say, okay, all right, so you put in some time. You've been in a great offense, an offense that has taken it to another level once they got Alvin Kamara. With Drew Brees having a running game with his skill and stuff, that offense has become pretty damn good. So from the standpoint of looking at Dak Prescott's development, you now have a guy who will work with a running game as well with a quarterback and hopefully can educate Dak and get him to take it to another level. Because here's what you have to understand with football. You can look and say, okay, you've got an Aaron Rodgers who can just throw the ball over the field. But yet, Aaron Rodgers, over the last few years, his body's been breaking down. And if he does not win the game for them, they're not winning it. You've got a lot of great quarterbacks out there, but it's about having a team. And that's what most people don't seem to recognize. It is a team sport. And just like last week, the defense wasn't there the way it had been. And that letdown helped the team to lose. In the same way, sometimes a quarterback is going to throw a whole bunch of picks and the team loses because of the quarterback. But you have to have a team that plays together. That way you can weather storms when one group just doesn't have it that day, because nobody has it every day. We all have good days and bad days. Some days we're at peak performance, other days we're not crap. But if you can get a guy like Dan Campbell who can teach Dak more, who can teach Dak recognizing the defenses quicker, can teach him about throwing the ball away and not taking sacks, and also to open up a playbook that keeps defenses off their feet. The problem is that our offense, and even Zeke Elliott said, basically we got about 7-8 plays, we just show a couple of different looks. Defenses, right now, defensive coordinators, their assistants, they're picking apart every single game film, every single play. They're studying what you did right, discovering what the looks look like, so that way when they get out there, they can recognize exactly what you're doing by down and distance in the formation. I always say, you guys have heard me say this many, many times, when you're not getting better, you're getting worse. If you're not improving what you're doing, people are going to learn what you're doing. And what you did last year don't work this year. So maybe getting a guy like Dan Campbell, who they can't talk to until after the game tomorrow, would be an interesting prospect of bringing somebody who's part of the family, so to speak, having played here for a bit and being part of Bill Parcells' coaching tree. One of those things that the Cowboys like. They like having people that have been related to the organization. But bringing him in, who, let's all be honest now, he is actually a head coaching prospect and was going into this season. Bringing in a guy like that with that kind of experience who's trying to continue to make a name for himself is going to be kind of like a Chris Richard. If you deem that maybe Jason Garrett isn't the guy and want to make a change, you have a person who's already in the system who's got that kind of experience of already having been a head coach, already with the system, that you can easily make a change. I'm not saying that we need to get rid of Jason Garrett, but see, you have to be able to cover all your bases when you make decisions for your team. Because it's not enough to think about the move you need to make right now. It's also thinking 4 or 5 steps down the road. What is going to be the best for me long term? So I like the prospect of a guy like that who's got experience, who's young, who can relate to players, who's been with a winning organization, who's been a player, and has seen things from outside elsewhere. Jason Garrett, I like the guy, but I think of his experience before he came to Dallas. He was quarterback coach for Miami for 1 year. And then he became our offensive coordinator and then our head coach. So most of his tenure has been learning on the job. It hasn't been the opportunity to be behind a Sean Payton and learning for a couple of years. It hasn't been the opportunity to work underneath a Bill Parcells. It has been 1 year of Nick Saban. And I don't think Nick Saban stayed that whole year. So that's where you look at somebody like Dan Campbell, who's been around. So we'll see what happens. Let this stuff set up and dry. And then I got to build my drawers, building a built-in dresser for the job that never ends for my cousin, the Redskin fan. Every time I think I'm just about done, hey, Mark, can you... Oh, dang. Yeah, it's like that. But I'll see you guys later on. We'll be talking about some of the other candidates for the Dallas Cowboys coaching job. I'll see you guys soon.